Today we're talking about the Broder Net Clip. We're doing gear reviews with the Noob and the Knower podcast. My name is Paolo Signori. Come along. All right, Broder Net Clip. What's the deal with this thing? Let me tell you a little bit about the backstory and then we'll get into the actual piece of kit. So I guess it was about 6 months ago, my brother was just, perusing Instagram and he found this clip. And he was like, hey man, check out this clip. It looks pretty cool. It was not in production at the time, and I don't think it is yet now at the time of this recording. The clip uses a new design. Now, for all of us fly fishers, we know that the net situation is always very annoying. Especially if you're a noob and haven't spent any time thinking about this, it sucks. So, what are the biggest gripes about your net?
It gets caught on things, falls off, you don't realize, dragging behind you, it's heavy, awkward location.
All those things kind of start to add up over time and people have become fed up with the fishing net situation. Broder realized this was an issue and they came up with a new design. So I ended up hitting them up. I am not sponsored by them at all, but they did send me a prototype and this thing is actually 3D printed. Just the 3D printed version is pretty cool. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the features because this thing is full of them. And I think what they did really well was they tackled the problem of the net actually detaching from the clip. I'm gonna grab my trusty net here. I've had this thing since the inception of my career in fly fishing. And I've come up with a bunch of different ways to attach my net to my pack. The Broder actually attaches with this little mechanism system and this dowel. So it's an industrial strength magnet. So as soon as you get it close, it just wants to go. You don't really have to do anything at all to make this work. You just put it near and it goes. Now that's something that we've seen on so many net clips and it's kind of ubiquitous through the world of fly fishing. So one of the disadvantages of using these magnet clips is that you'll have two magnets, one's attached to your pack, the other one is attached to your net. And when you're walking, you get caught in the brush and the net detaches. Now you'll be walking for, a couple more steps, your lanyard pulls out and you're stretched out and you can either break your net, you can break your lanyard. You're also just kind of shocked when you're walking. Or sometimes you'll be walking behind an angler and their net's just dragging behind them for miles and you can be a jerk and not say anything or you can bring it up. The cool thing about this thing though is that it has this release. So when you're walking through the woods and you bump into something, this thing's not coming off. They say it has about 60 pounds of applicable pressure. I put it through its paces and it's not going anywhere. It becomes second nature. You stop sort of thinking about it. You just sort of you have a fish on, you're gonna land it, you just hit the switch, it comes right off and you net it. And you can do it all with one hand, which is part of what's genius about the design here, is when you're going to grab the net, you just click with your finger and you're out. So it's actually really well thought out. It's a one-hand net situation. Mm-hmm. Rods in one hand, nets in the other, unclip, pull, and you're out. The actual mechanism that makes it work is actually one of the most satisfying things I've found in fly fishing gear. This is the kind of thing that you would keep by your desk or by your TV and just click all day long if you were psychotic. I'm not psychotic, so I'm not gonna do that, but you might. The way you attach it is with this other part, which I haven't spoken about. This is when we're gonna get into what some people might have a problem with this piece of gear. The one caveat is that you're required to actually glue this to your net. So it comes with industrial strength 3M tape that you take the back off of and you press down and you hold it down for about 2 minutes and then you leave it 24 hours and it sets. Once it sets, it's like bomb-proof. But you do have this thing that's attached to your net sort of forever. And I know that might turn some people off. You buy a brand new net, it looks all pretty, and then you have to stick this thing on it. There might be some people that have a problem with it. One thing I will say that is cool is that they sell these separately, so you can actually buy this separate little piece and put it on all your nets, and then you only need one clip and it's adaptable across all of your fishing systems, which is actually really practical. In my situation where I have a big net that I use and a smaller net, it's gonna be nice to be able to just take this thing off, put it on my float tube, take my big net if I'm doing whatever steelhead salmon fishing, then I go to the river, I'm gonna be fishing for brook trout or something like that, something really little, then I can switch it to my smaller one. So it's like an adaptable system, whereas I feel with the other net clips on the market, you can do that, but it's really kind of a pain because you're constantly dealing with those D-rings, which are just super limiting. This thing could be a deal breaker for some people. For me, it's not. It's very comfortable, and they actually, in the video, they actually tell you to put this thing closer, but I didn't want to cover up the fish pond logo, so I just put it a little bit lower, and it has made no difference. I've landed a couple fish in this thing. It's been perfect. Again, even in my float tube, I've had a great time using it. Now, one of the things I love about this thing is its construction. I got a prototype, so this is not like the one you're gonna get probably when the actual thing comes out to the public. It's 3D printed, but it's super robust. I can't even imagine how it's gonna be like once they actually start making it. Also, it should be noted that there's only 4 screws. There's 4 on the back here, 2 on the front, and the mechanism itself is super simple. You can tell there's a spring inside, so there is some sort of like mechanics going on, but nothing that's gonna like fail you out into the middle of the stream when you're like netting the biggest fish of your life. The other thing that's kind of cool about this is it has this clip. So it's very adaptable. You can put it on a bunch of things, and I actually tested it even on my float tube, and it was sick. So I really like this because you can take it on and off very easily. Most of us that have been fly fishing have been using those rings to attach things, and it's so annoying, like just getting the ring off. This sort of clip design is much nicer. You just clip it on, and it has this little safety strap that goes through here. You lift it up, secure it, and it's not going anywhere. And it's actually really practical, quick to get off also. And if you have multiple nets, you can actually switch them around. All right, so another feature that I think is really cool about this, it goes back sort of to the idea of you getting caught in the brush, but this is actually constructed in a way that it rocks. So if you do bump against something that it could get caught on, it's actually going to rock past it instead of stopping and limiting its movement. So it actually rocks 360 degrees, as you can see, which is really kind of cool and really keeps you free from getting hit in the brush, which for me has been kind of a deal changer, deal breaker. Like I'm always getting caught on things. I do a lot of bushwhacking. I go into the backcountry. I'm like cutting through woods and stuff, and my net is constantly getting stuck, and it's very frustrating. Knowing that I have something that I can actually rely to adapt with me as I move through the brush is actually a very practical thing to have. So I really like that part of it, and I think it's the main thing that really separates this piece of gear from other ones, is just this ability to adapt with you through your environment, which you don't really see in the other models and designs from other makers. It's also just super light, like it feels like it's weightless almost, which is another design feature that I think is awesome. For people that go in the backcountry and they're doing long mile hikes and they need to carry a net clip, this thing is pretty light. You still have these magnets that are heavy. This part's pretty light, so you're actually probably losing a lot of pound. Not a lot, but pound that matters when you're actually doing like ultralight backpacking or just backpacking in general. So it is a nice lightweight hiking option if you're going on these remote trips. Final last thoughts here. If I have to give this a rating, I'm gonna say it's a 4.5 out of 5, which I'm a stickler. That's kind of a big deal. And the reason I love this thing is because it's lightweight, it does the 360 spin, so it doesn't get caught on things. It's highly adaptable, and the design is just great. This thing, it just feels good to use. I'm a big stickler for that kind of stuff. I love the way reels sound. I pay attention to those things, and this is just one of those satisfying sort of hits, like they made a hook into their product, and I just love the way it feels when I use it. So I think the whole package is really legit. I'm very curious to see what the final product is like. So 4.5 out of 5. If you're interested in getting this, you can actually pre-order it for $54.99. That's on broderflyfishing.com. You can also get early access, which will get you one of these actually right now, but it's a 3D printed prototype for $100. Also at broderflyfishing.com. They also sell the other piece, the attachable piece, separate for I think around $20. So if you wanted to come up with the complete system right now, technically you could. But if you want to wait for the final product, it should be out in the near future, at least at the time of this recording. All right, everybody, that's all I got for the Broder Net Clip. I'm Pablo Signori from the Noob and the Knower podcast. If you haven't checked out our podcast, please do. It's streaming everywhere. It's called the Noob and the Knower podcast. It's how to fly fish with Lance Egan. You learn a lot of stuff there, whether you're a beginner or an expert, and it's sort of built in the way you would have a curriculum at some sort of class, so it is kind of chronological. If you're looking for something like that, that's sort of the goal of what we were trying to put out. So with that, we're also doing gear reviews now. If you liked this gear review, please like and subscribe to the channel. We'll be having a lot more, and hopefully you found this thing useful. If you like the Broder Net Clip, go out and get it. If you have a net clip that you like, please leave a comment down below and we'd love to hear about it. That's all we got right now. Talk to you later, and see.
This was a Raul Maria production.